Hi, awesome people. I'm just going to give it a few minutes, and as you do, I invite you to say hi in the chat box, in the chat thing, in the comments, and we'll go from there. I'll give it a few minutes for people to start arriving. I'm here to pimp the book, as has been nicely put there in my thing by Tom. Hi from LA. Who's that? Luann? Kendra? Well done for being up so early. Yvonne, hi. That's my book. Buy the book. Hi, Carolyn in Louisiana. Gretchen, hi. I think I've kind of worked out how this works now, after fumbling my way through it last time. Martha, good morning. Danny, hi from Massachusetts. I'm in Portsmouth in the UK, so that's a long old way from you guys. Where are we? Chicago, hi Melinda. That's a couple of minutes, so let's start. So if you're driving or doing something that involves paying attention to stuff, don't do this bit, but if you're fairly certain kids aren't going to set fire to themselves and you're not going to crash your car or forklift or whatever it is you're doing, I invite you to take a breath, bring yourself into a point of stillness, give your shoulders a wiggle, try and bring them down away from your ears. If it feels good, you can close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth with an ah noise. Give yourself a couple of them and feel that relaxation come into you and settle into your body. Feel your toes, give them a little scrunch up, feel your socks or the floor around your toes. Rub your hands together so you can feel your fingers, be aware of where your body is. We've got Kathy in Ontario. Hi, Karen. Kirsty in Southampton. I used to live in Southampton, used to work in the General. Alison, Santa Fe. It's a long way away from me. Lima. I love Lima. From Wikalia. I don't know how to say that. And Melinda, hiya. So today we're talking about runes because I'm pimping my new book. Woo! It's out like this time next week, which is exciting for me. It's my first Hay House book. And this book is all about how to find your inner oracle. It even says on the front, look, where is it? There it is. With the runes. And if you've not met Viking runes before, they are something that has influenced the Anglophile languages a lot. We have lots of sounds that are from the runes that now are part of our language now, especially if you speak English. So, for instance, the th sound is the Thras rune, the th noise, that the beginning of the or there or Thor, surprisingly enough. And so these runes are part of how the Scandinavian Germanic culture evolved through thousands of years to become what we are now. And because of how the Scandinavian Vikings tribes went about stuff, they got everywhere, and I mean everywhere. They've even starting to prove it now that they got to North America before any other European did, so that's quite good without compasses and sheer bloody determination to row your way across the Atlantic. The Vikings, the runes and that whole energy has a massive impact on how European culture evolved, because it changed how we had to adapt and think as humans. Hi Maura from Bury St Edmunds, Laurie in Jersey, and Karen, thank you. Dana, thank you very much. I like my dancing book in Virginia. So these runes are part of the Northern European culture, and they were everywhere in the world of the early medieval periods, like everything between probably 1,000 years ago to 1700, 1800 years ago, and a bit earlier the further north you get. And runes were carved into things to primarily and first as a language to remember great deeds of heroism and great people. So they were carved on rune stones to memorialize events and people that were buried in the ground, and nature overtook them over time. The runes also were used to mark weapons, items of magic. So a sword may be marked with Uthbert, the name of the guy who made it. Or a sword may be named, or spear even, or any weapon would named a name that the wielder had given it. It would have been chip carved into it, or it would have been stamped into it in some carved or some way of fashioning it to name that weapon, that tool. And this also extends beyond the martial aspects of this subculture, of this culture of humans, to the magical, metaphysical, spiritual nature. Because of the way the society was organized at the time, women owned everything. Anything to do with the house and home was women's purview. Men owned their weapons and their bling. Women owned houses, animals, slaves, the works. All of it was under the women's purview. And that came along with the magic as well. And these runes are something that's quite integral to this magic, because they are first and foremost a spoken language, and this language came to be used for spells as we'd call them nowadays as well, because by spelling something you are enunciating out. The magic user, the witch of the ancient Scandinavian times, was called the Volva, and the Volva literally means wand weaver, and you can put as many connotations on that as you want, but the one I'm going to talk about at PG-13 is the weaving of cloth, and because cloth is such a vital, important part in every culture. We wear cloth, we spin it on machines now, mostly, and back in the day, everything had to be spun by hand from right at the beginning. So, okay, the wool came from the sheep, it had to be carded, it had to be spun on a drop spindle, because there's no spinning wheels then. And so everyone would drop spin to make thread, and then it would be given to the women to weave it into cloth to make clothes with. And the women would sing their magic into their clothes. Every woman and every child, because children did everything until they were differentiated by their roles in society. So everyone knew how to spin, everyone knew how to weave, and the women would sing their magic into these clothes. So if you had a shirt or a tunic or a dress or a pair of socks made for you, it would not just be made by hand, laborious process in itself. It would have the love and the protection and everything that the maker would want for you, woven into it, sung into it as it was created. And this is just like the basic everyday level of communalness of the magic of the runes of the ancient North. But we can look at also the more specialized magics. Like, everyone can do this. This is stuff that you did day in, day out. But if you had something going on in your life, like you needed your husband cured of a disease, the horse was lame, the cow wasn't giving milk, the child limped, the chickens weren't laying, or whatever malady was going on, you'd go and see your Volva, the village wise woman, the priestess, and a bit later on the Gothi, the masculine version of that, but that wasn't until like 800 years ago. And the Volva would carve runes. She would either cast runes from her rune stones to see what was going on, or if she knew exactly what she needed to do, she would carve runes on a sliver of wood or bone or metal to be used as a stav, S-T-A-V, stav, to bring that magic into that area that was needed to be there. So there's lots of stuff written down about runes. Interestingly, because lots of stuff written down by Runic about runic magic. Interestingly, around the way men used it, because the guys who wrote down these stories were monks, and monks had the one job at the time was to convert the unbeliever. And so everything was framed through their lens of Christianity. And in early Christianity, women didn't have a lot of power, so it was all men using the magic. And a lot of the old law codes and a lot of the old magic was forgotten because patriarchal structures. So we know that there was this magic user called Eagle in Iceland. Eagle was a adventurer who did daring do and had sword fights and fought over women and had lots of fun and games as a daring adventurer would do. But he was also a rune master, and as a rune master he was once called to save the life of a woman who was beset by a malady, and he went into her room and instantly knew it was magic, not a normal malady affecting her. And under her bed he found some bone with runes carved on it, and it was runes carved to heal her, but someone got the rune wrong when they carved it, so the rune didn't heal, they made her worse. So he threw that rune out, burnt it, and made a new one so that the energy could heal opposed to harm. Because runes don't care how they're used, they're just primal energies that bring that resonance into that area, be it bad, good, malintent, good intent, whatever. They don't care. They're just energy. They just are. So these runes can be used anyway. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to make runic staves. I use lollipop sticks. I believe in Americanisms it's a I don't know what's a lollipop stick. It's one of them. A little bit of pine that's shaped, and you get them from lollipops. I've got a big wad of them that I got from a craft shop. I would pick them up and I would drop them everywhere. And these are a really good way to start casting runes runic staves, to build an energy that can be used and adapted for what you want to do with it. Because bear in mind, in Nordic tradition there's no rule of three like you'd get in modern Wicca or anything like that. You do an action, you get a response. There's nothing. If you do a bad thing, you're probably going to get bad results, because people straight away know you've done a bad thing, because that's how community works. If you don't get caught, you don't get caught. And popsicle, that's the right word. Thank you, Team America. So you've got a popsicle stick and a Sharpie. This is how I do it. It makes it very easy, very modern. And to make for instance, runic spell for healing, we're in an interesting healing time. We would pick runes that evoke healing. And good ones are Uraz, which is the rune of strength and power. It looks kind of like an inverted U. Can you see that on there? Let's scrolling up so you can actually bring that. So you've got Uraz, this rune of strength. It's the Oryx, the ox. It's a rune all about power and strength and really primal, guttural power. The rune story tells a story of a ancient ox that stalks moodily throughout the moors. So it's really like a really powerful base energy, and that's one way to start. You're going to bring that power in, because you need power to overcome a sickness. There's also Laguz. Laguz is the rune of lakes, of water. And the thing that I tell people all the time, especially when I was a nurse, that the best way to get over most infections, viruses, etc., is to drink loads. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. So I'm using Uraz and Laguz with my runic staff here. And so I wouldn't carry it with me, because this is a active healing. It's like taking Tylenol or paracetamol to help you feel better and help you heal. So you'd use it when you need it. So in the Eagle saga, he had Under the Bed, and this is where I'd probably put this if I was making it for someone. And it will work to bring in those energies that you'd want to heal. If you're feeling rubbish, for instance, if you've got something like fibro or ME or you're long COVIDing, all of that sort of stuff, then you can carry it with you and use that energy as you go about your life. Good question, Shana. Thank you. So it depends on what you want to use. It's all about context runes. Because if you want a rune to be healing, you make your runic staff to be healing. But those two runes could also be a powerful flood that's coming through to knock down your walls and flood your basement and things like that. So you need to be aware of the context and the intent of which you bring to your runes. Because, as I said earlier, they don't really care if it's a good or bad energy. It's just that they're just primal. They're like a forest fire. They're like a coyote or a wolf or a lion. They're not evil. They just are. They're natural forces. So to make your staves, make it with the right intent to help hinder, heal, harm, orgasms, cuddles, good grades, whatever it is that you want to do. So your spell is your spell. And your spell is as complicated as you can cope with. So in Eagle Saga, the spell that he found under this woman's bed was too complicated because they had too many runes and they started interacting and making malintent. So if I put other runes on this, like a need rune, the Northis, that rune would bring that need to get better. But if you combine it with the others, perhaps you bring too much water, so you might get fluid on the lungs because you call too much water in. So the more runes you put on there, the more complex it gets, which is great if you're doing something complex. But if you're doing something that is just to bring energy into an area to help, then as long as you understand what it means, then you're winning. If you make it too complex, if you make something too complex, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to control where the energy goes. Like with chemotherapy in modern medicine, chemo is a powerful, powerful drug, and we use it's a general drug because you give it intravenously and it goes throughout your whole body. So it's hard to decide where it goes. But we have radiotherapy where you laser it in super tight, so you can choose the energy you use to you can choose where the energy goes to help or to help heal the problem. Rhonda, should you only use positive vibes? I don't like the word should. My positive vibes may not be your positive vibes. So it all depends on what you deem necessary for the thing. For instance, a broken arm, you need to be quite aggressive to set the broken arm. So yes, it's positive in the end point, but to reset it, you have to pull the arm straight and splint it and stuff like that, which is quite an aggressive, powerful action. So the runes don't care. The runes aren't positive, negative, bad or good. They are just there. It's what intent you bring to it. It's how you bring the energy to the spell, the stav you're casting. In the world today, we have lots of different intents and lots of different interpretations. So be aware that yours may well be different from someone else's. But if you're casting the spell, if you're making your runic stav, you're the one in charge of it. You're responsible for the energy and where it goes. And when you're done with your runic staff, burn it. Because then all the energy is evaporated and gone. It's not held in one place anymore. And we know women use these as more than men because we found graves in Uppsala and in Birka in Sweden where women are buried with little strips of bone and wood with runes carved on them. So we know that these wise women, these Volva, these witches had these magic spells with them. And which runes can we carry for protection? Runes for protection, again, they're very primal. There's a really good rune for protection is Algiz. Algiz is, it looks like a Y with a little hole in the top. I'll draw it here. I'm going to burn this stick later, so I hope I've done that clear enough. Algae is a protection rune. It's a very default protection rune. It's what one might use for a strong boundary. It's a fence. It's a castle wall. It's the stay you 2 meters away from me or 6 foot. It's that this is my space. This is your space energy, and you can infuse that with however you want to do it. Yeah, I put it on the inside of my face masks. I put it on when I was a nurse. I had it on the inside of my ID badge, so it would keep negative effects away from me, especially with all the fun and games that we had there. So Algiz is a really powerful rune for that. It's that Y with a little line in the top. It's like a thorn, a spiky thing. So runic staves are great to use actively to help heal someone, to help sort a problem out, to attract a partner, to repel a partner, to make the puppy cuddle you, to help the baby sleep, to whatever you can think of, because runes are designed to be part of life. They're not sacred and holy and can't be touched by people. They're there to be used and played with and touched. I have my version of my runic staff. I have it around my neck all the time. I have it on bog oak, and it's got my runes burned into it that I have to do what I want it to do throughout the day, and I use it all the time. So that's a bit about making runic staves and runic magic. You can also use runes to bring magic into an area, to bring energy or focus into an area by putting them on, for instance, fences around your home or on the walls in your home. In this house that I'm in right now, when we got it, we stripped it down to the plaster and then drew runes on all the walls for health, home, security and happiness. And it's really hard to be glum and sad here because there's so much of that energy and hypnosis on every wall or every door, and every surface has got that. They'll be then plastered and painted over it. So it's completely within the fabric of this house. So all this energy is around you, and you can call it in with the runes. And as you build your spells and you build your runic staff, your runic bind together. Bind runes are quite a complex thing, and that's in the book. Mustn't forget to put it in the book. Buy the book. It's all in the back of this. There's at the front is a little bit about the Viking and the Northern tradition and how the worldview influences how you interpret the runes. There's a big bit in the middle with how the runes work. If I can find Algiz, there it is. That's the protection rune. And then at the back, it's how to use runes, how to cast them, and how to draw them, etc., etc., etc. Karen, 2 sets of runes. Always wanted to learn how to utilize them. How auspicious that when I see this presentation just now, I would definitely buy a book. Thank you. So that's the basics of using runes as a staff, as magic, as a bind to hold energy and space and resonance in space and where you want it. You can use it however you want, and just remember that the Nordic, ancient Norse, Vikings, whatever you want to call it, had this concept of Hamangia. Hamangia is, Lisa, I'll get to you in a second. Hamangia is this concept of communal luck. So the more you work for your community, the more energy you bring in. So if you do not terribly pleasant things, your energy goes down. If you do good things, your energy goes up. So the more good you do, from your perception of good, remember this is how you perceive the world, not to be judged by anyone else. This is all yours. Then your energy will go up. Lisa, how do you know what type of runes to buy? You can make your own. It's again in the book. Buy the book. Yeah, your book. You can make your own runes. These are the Elder Furthak, which are the oldest runes that are easy to get your head around. The runic sounds are quite anglicised, so you can say them, and they work quite well with modern interpretations. You can buy them. there's 24 of them. So if you look at your rune stones that you're buying, the 24 of them, you can make them by going, for instance, to the beach and picking up some trash, getting rid of the trash, and then taking 24 pebbles that call to you. You can use them on bits of wood. My ones that I use every day are on little bits of ash, and they're burned on with a pyrography tool. You can use your popsicle stick, 24 of them, with a rune on one side, and you can use it exactly the same way. You could use it on bits of resin or coins if you want to do it on a pile of quarters. That'd be quite cool actually, wouldn't it? All shiny and glittery, making really good noise as you cast them. So whatever works for you to build your runes up is good. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on buying a set of runes. You can make them, and they're probably more powerful if you make them, and something that resonates with you. I have a client that made hers out of buttons because she likes buttons, so she has lots of buttons and her runes are written on the buttons and she casts them from there. So it works, whatever works best for you. Paula, thank you. Nina, thank you, Nina, you rock. Shana, casting runes. So casting runes, again, it's in the book. Yay, book. It's at the end in how to do lots of stuff. The be all and end all of runes is do what's comfortable for you. Because what works best for you may not work best for someone else. I tend to draw a single rune. As again, that's the thing. So if someone is needing some strength in the world, this is yours. And then going from there. And you can ask for expansion on that thing by first bit. Strength, someone needs strength, and a bit more interpretation on that. Degaz, which is the rune of initiation. And I draw maybe 2 or 3 to expand on a question that's been asked. If you're asking a question, not binary questions, not a yes or no, not a this or that. It's a what will happen if, and things like that. So that's a expansion there. Bear with me. And yes, drawing of runes can be definitely used on tarot spreads or oracle card spreads because you've already got a structure that you can bring the energy into. Paula, no, it doesn't have to be ash. Runes are however works best for you. I like ash. I planted the ash tree that this came off like 30 years ago. So that's why I've got ash ones. I've got oak runes. I've got some yew runes. Traditionally, in the stories, they were done on fruit wood, so apple or cherry wood was the really powerful ones. I did have some cherry runes. I'll put them somewhere safe if I can't find them. That's how it goes. So whatever you choose to make your runes out of is a really powerful thing for you to experience the world. Because there's no right way or wrong way to do it, because this is all about how you do it. And that's what I really want you to get from this book. Is that you can take what I'm telling you here and build your experience and your expertise on it, because your feeling of strength may be very different from my feeling of strength. I'm 6'7", I'm male, I live in the UK. And my interpretation of strength could be very different from yours. So it's all about how you feel about that strength. Strength can be different. Water can be different. Hail and change can be different. Shauna, I've been with all the runes in a circle. Is that okay? Of course it's okay to wear. It's only not okay if you don't want it to be okay. Because runes, first and foremost, are an alphabet. They spell words, they give you sounds. For instance, Shauna, we'd have sh is Sowelio, or Anus, North is Anus. So that gives the Shauna sound as you build the runes as a phonetic sound. But then you also have all the energy of all the runes together in your pendant to bring it how you want to be used. So it's a really good, if you want to use it as a magical thing, as an energetic thing, it's got all the cosmos's energy held within it to help you do what you need to do in the universe. In the book, yes, I am working with the Elder Fourth Arc. This is because it works better for an anglicised tongue. The younger Futhark is much more Norwegian in its structure. So unless you're living in Norway, Sweden, or Iceland, or indeed Newcastle in the UK, it's a little bit harder to get through. And the Saxon Futhark is like 36 runes. I didn't want to write that many runes in the book, but there'll be a online course covering other bits later on that I'm currently working on through Hay House. How important is it to memorise the meanings of each rune? Not because they're all in the book, Alison. Yay, book! The more you work with them, the more you'll get concepts, because concepts build into you. Like the 72 tarot cards, I don't know how they work. My wife's got them all stored in her head, and she uses that. Fine, thank you very much. If you're using the runes every day, because this is a book designed to help you learn to read runes for yourself, for your friends, your family, as a reader, build your auricular powers. It's here to prime you and get you ready to go into that. And the more you work with it, the more you draw your runes, the more you play with them and touch them, you'll know what they feel like. You'll know that rune there, Othello, means health and home or family, and you'll know that actually in the context of the question it means something else. A couple of runes books. How is my different? Because it's mine and it's epic. My rune book is based on my experience building my runes and my practice with the runes. It's not drawing on one source. It's not an academic book. If you want academic books, there's loads of stuff in the back of it about how to find academic reading for it. It's a very felt experience of the runes. And it is designed to help you develop your version of the runes and your interpretation, opposed to giving you a prescribed, this is how it is version of the runes, if that makes sense. It's all about how you develop your feeling, your interaction. Karen, Rune Stones is blank, there's 25 stones. I don't like the blank rune. I think it's a marketing gimmick that came because someone who wrote a book a long time ago in the mid-80s bought a set of runes with 25 runes and had to work out what the blank rune was. I think it was because the stamp that they used to make the runes was done in 5s opposed to 4s, and they had a blank one left over, so they called it the weird rune. All the runes are weird, weird, W-Y-R-D. So I don't think a blank rune's appropriate. You can have it if you want as a spare, but I don't use it. I don't think it needs to be used. It doesn't make sense to have a spare rune. Yeah, Yvonne, runes will call you when you're ready for them, and we're currently going through an interesting resurgence about lots of connectivity to what was before, and we go in that way. Did what I say about the blank rune make sense? Because while I'm trying not to be, prescriptive around it, having a blank rune doesn't make a lot of sense in the world. So, brilliant. Shauna, thank you. Any other questions, team? Or I can do a reading for you if you'd like. Let me know in the chat box, pretty please. What's going on? Yes, please. So, if we're doing a reading type thing, I'm going to draw a rune. What I'd like you to do is bring to your mind, you don't have to put it in the box unless you really want to. I would invite you to close your eyes, think of your question about the world, and how you want to have it solved or the answer to be, and I'll draw a rune. And the rune is radio. This is the rune of a journey, not in the X Factor Love Island, this has been a journey type of thing. This is the rune of I'm going to go over there because I want to see what's on this other side of the hill. This is the experience of being alive. So your question, it will be answered through your experience of the question. If it's about a relationship, is that experience going to let you know the way? Is it about a job? Is the experience you've got of life leading up to that job, or leading into that job, or through that job, or out of that job, going to dictate how you experience the world? This can be expanded on with Feu. Feu is the rune of abundance and money, resources. It's a cow rune and a fire rune. So your question is answered through the experience, the journey, the adventure you'll go on to either achieve or to stabilize your resources in the world. So making sure you've got enough money, fuel, food, water, whatever your resources, love, reputation in the world is what is going to drive your journey, your adventure from the question you just answered. I hope that helps. Martha, I do a rune of the day reading every day. It's on my Instagram at Rich Lister UK that you can go and access, and it's there every day. It's on the stories. I think I even do a grid post so you can have a look at what I'm doing every day with it. So please buy my book. It means Hay House will love me and I get to write more books, and I quite enjoy it. It's out on Tuesday next week. Printed in the US, so it should get to you guys first. So thank you so much for your attention. If you have any other questions for me, you can go to my website. If you sign up to the newsletter, you can reply to that and it all gets to me, and you can ask that way. You can get freebies on my website, richardlister.com, for when you've bought the book. You get a meditation, a bind rune for your phone, and I'm doing an hour and a half masterclass next Sunday at 7:30 my time. So that's what's 7:30 minus 5. About 2:30 Eastern. I don't know how everything else works out. I'm a bit confused about that. Next Sunday on runes, magics, all of this good fun stuff that I'll answer questions. We do readings, meditations, all that fun and games. So please go and sign up, get your freebies, buy the book, make me look awesome, and have an amazing rest of your evening. I'll just check I've answered all the questions. Brilliant. So before we go, I invite you to settle into where you are. Give your shoulders another wiggle. Rub your fingers together so you know where your hands are. Touch your cheeks, your nose, your forehead, your head, your tummy, your chest, your thighs, so you know where your body is. Feel your toes on the floor, in your socks, in your shoes, so you know where you start and where you begin. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And know that you are absolutely amazing and awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for your energy. Bye-bye.